Listen closely. I'm going to divorce you and marry Michelle. There's an age difference, but Dad is rich and kind. I'll be happy, so please divorce him for my sake. Are you listening? I had suspected something before, but it seems that my husband Patrick and our daughter Michelle were indeed romantically involved. Marry Michelle? I don't understand what you mean. We've been dating for a long time. I love Michelle. Patrick revealed his relationship with Michelle without any remorse, even appearing proud of it. If I have to choose between two people with the same face, one an older woman and the other a young lady, of course, I choose the younger. She looks like you, so it's fine, isn't it? It turns out their relationship has been going on for nearly 21 years. It's unbelievable, but it means they've been deceiving me for all these years. Patrick is 57 and Michelle is 39. Despite the significant age difference, it seems to make no difference to them. Seeing my shocked expression, the two of them laughed out loud as if they found it amusing. Giving Patrick the benefit of the doubt is one thing, because our marriage had turned cold a long time ago, but what hurt more was the betrayal by my daughter, Michelle, whom I had raised with all my effort. So, I decided to reveal a certain truth to her that I had kept hidden until now. Upon hearing it, Michelle instantly turned pale. My name is Samantha. When I was 29 years old, my husband, who was healthy and still in the prime of his working life, tragically died in an accident. In my grief, I knew I had to keep going because of my only daughter, Michelle. To support Michelle, who was just 10 and feeling insecure after suddenly losing her father, I worked tirelessly. Although there was some financial support from my parents, I couldn't rely on it forever, so I juggled multiple jobs to make ends meet each month. I worked at a cafe during the day and at a bar at night. During the day, Michelle stayed at daycare, and at night, she would go to my parents' house. Though I didn't want to make her feel lonely, my job necessitated cutting down on our time together. On the few days off I had, I spoiled her as much as possible, buying her favorite things and taking her to places she wanted to go. That was what kept me going. This life continued for years, and Michelle turned 18. She was accepted into the college she hoped to attend and was set to start living on her own. When leaving home, Michelle said to me, "Mom, thank you for raising me. Enjoy your life at your own pace now." At that time, I was dating a man, Patrick, a regular at the bar where I worked. He didn't change his attitude even after learning I was a widowed single mother. "It's admirable how you've raised your daughter so well." He even complimented me. He was a very kind man. Encouraged by Michelle's words, I decided to remarry Patrick. Once Michelle's college enrollment and move were settled, I introduced Patrick to her. "Nice to meet you. I'm Michelle," her daughter said. "Nice to meet you, Michelle. Well, you look just like your mom, and you're beautiful too." Patrick was surprised by how much Michelle and I resembled each other. Indeed, Michelle had grown to look just like I did when I was younger. "I hope you two will have a happy marriage life," Michelle greeted him politely. Despite making her feel lonely all these years, she now wished for my happiness. I was filled with joy to see her grow into such a kind-hearted person. 21 years have passed since then. Patrick has successfully climbed the corporate ladder and now sits in an executive position. After graduating college, Michelle worked for a major apparel company, and I, having gotten married, quit my night job and now only work during the day. With parenting somewhat behind me, my life might seem smooth sailing, but now my marriage to Patrick has completely cooled off. Looking back, I think Patrick's attitude started changing right after we got married. He used to be such a kind and cheerful person when we were dating, but after we got married, he often ignored me, saying, "I'm tired," when I tried to talk to him. As he climbed the corporate ladder and took on more responsibilities, Patrick started working overtime and on weekends more often, reducing our time together as a couple. Strangely though, while he was cold to me, whenever daughter Michelle, who lived on her own, came to visit, Patrick would welcome her warmly. "No way, Dad is being weird, really?" Because back then, today too, in front of me, they were talking about something I couldn't understand. The way he acted so differently with me made me feel alienated. Normally, it would be wonderful that Michelle and Patrick got along so well, but their overly close behavior made me suspicious. He hardly ever talks to me, usually. Am I jealous of Michelle? To anyone, the closeness between Patrick and Michelle seemed odd, and my premonition would prove correct. Hey Samantha, are things going well with Patrick? When I visited my parents' home after a long time, my mother asked me with a complex expression. I had never discussed my marital discord with Patrick with her. I didn't want to worry her unnecessarily. What's up all of a sudden? I was torn about staying silent, but actually my mother seemed resolved as she began to reveal a certain truth to me. Despite being nearly 80, my mother was still physically strong and often enjoyed going out to the city on her own. Yesterday, she had taken the train to a town a bit far away to shop there. She said she saw Patrick with someone. I saw Patrick walking arm in arm with Michelle. I hate to say it, but it was a suspicious vibe and it made me feel uneasy. Wait a minute, that can't be right. Patrick is in Germany right now. He shouldn't be in the U.S. Patrick had been away on a business trip to Germany since yesterday. I thought it must be a case of mistaken identity by my mother, but she insisted that it was Patrick and Michelle she saw. At first, I thought I was mistaken too because they looked so much alike. Look at this. My mother took out her phone, pressed some buttons, did some navigating, and then showed me the screen. There indeed were Patrick and Michelle walking arm in arm. How can this be? Why? Oh my. I knew it wasn't a mistake. What could this mean? Why was Patrick, who was supposed to be on a business trip in Germany, walking so intimately arm in arm with Michelle? On paper, the two are parent and child, but they share no blood relation, and in the photo they looked more like lovers than parent and child. Could they be hiding something from me? No, that can't be. I couldn't bear the thought, but it sent shivers down my spine. I had to find out for sure, so I immediately called Patrick. After several rings, a disgruntled Patrick answered, "What's the rush? I'm still outside. If it's not urgent, let's talk later." Hey, where are you now? You're on a business trip, right? Of course, I just arrived at the airport in... However, listening closely, it didn't seem like Germany at all. The conversation and announcement I unexpectedly heard were all in English. Hey, I just heard English. Are you really in Germany? Oh, well, that was a colleague's voice. Others are here on the trip too. We're about to go through customs. I'm busy, so I'm hanging up. Patrick hung up the phone unilaterally, flustered by my pointing out that his behavior was suspicious. Following that, I gave Michelle a call. Hello, what is it, Mom? Michelle answered my call with a very normal demeanor. Hey, Michelle, where are you right now? I asked Michelle the same question I had asked Patrick. Oh, where? I'm out eating with a coworker, but what about it? Michelle's tone was utter calm. No, it's nothing. Sorry for calling suddenly. I hung up the phone. Michelle seemed far from lying, but I noticed something. The lively music and announcements floated in the background while I spoke with Patrick earlier. The same sounds were in the background of Michelle's call. Just as my mother said, the two were secretly together at the same place. I was sure of it. Days passed with this uneasy feeling, and Patrick's 60th birthday was approaching. The plan was to host a birthday party at home with Michelle invited. I was reluctant to meet Michelle, considering my suspicions about their relationship, but I couldn't just cancel the gathering abruptly, so I suppressed my feelings and prepared for the birthday. On the day, Michelle arrived as scheduled. Here you go, a gift for Dad. You said you liked this before, right? I found it at the store and thought you'd be pleased. Michelle handed Patrick a bottle of wine, indeed his favorite brand. Oh, you remembered. I'm delighted. Let's drink it together right away. Hey, Samantha, hurry up and get the food ready. Contrary to his behavior with Michelle, Patrick treated me almost like a maid. Even as we sat down at the table to start eating, the two of them flaunted how well they got along. Hey, when did you two get so close? It feels unusually close, doesn't it? I couldn't hold back anymore and spoke sarcastically. Then Patrick smirked maliciously. Hey, what's the matter? Are you worried? Well, it's a good opportunity. I think it's time I told you the truth. While acting all mysterious, Patrick pulled a piece of paper from his pocket and thrust it in front of me. It was a divorce paper, already filled out with the signature of Patrick. I'm sick of living with you. Let's get divorced, huh? You can't just spring this on me all of a sudden. Ignoring my confusion, Patrick and Michelle began to say something unbelievable. Listen closely. I'm going to divorce you and marry Michelle. Marry Michelle? Why? Why all of a sudden? I don't understand. It's not sudden. We've been dating for a long time. I love Michelle. It seems Patrick and Michelle indeed had a romantic relationship. Patrick was not the least bit remorseful. He seemed almost proud as he disclosed his relationship with Michelle. If I have to choose between two people with the same face, one older and one younger, it's obvious I choose the younger one. Patrick said that from the first time he met Michelle, he fell for her, not me. The relationship started right after we got married almost 21 years ago. It's unbelievable, but it means they've been deceiving me all these years. Patrick is 60 and Michelle is 39. Despite the significant age difference, it seems to make no difference to them. Unlike you, the nagging old lady, Michelle is kind and above all young. She looks like you, so that's good enough. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say I love you too. It's actually for the better. There's an age difference, but Dad is rich and kind. I'll be happy, so please divorce him for my sake. Are you listening? Stunned into silence by what was happening, Michelle laughed at me mockingly. Can't even speak, huh? That's right, now you just have to spend a miserable old age. It can't be helped. Anyone would prefer the younger one if the faces are the same. They laughed uproariously, amused by my shock. Patrick was the least of my problems. Our marriage had long since turned cold, and I had braced myself for such a day might come. But the betrayal of Michelle, whom I had struggled as a single mother to raise, was much harder to bear. What you two are doing is outrageous. Michelle, are you going to betray me and marry him? Are you really okay with that? I pressed Michelle for an answer. Hi, what's sour grapes? Sorry for taking your husband, Mom. Michelle showed no remorse in response to my question. It seemed this was not just a momentary lapse. That's enough. Realizing that nothing I said would matter, I quietly accepted the divorce papers, signed them without a word, and handed them back to Patrick. Once you're done here, get out fast. This place is for Michelle and me now. You're no longer needed, old lady. Patrick's words coldly pushed me out as I held back tears, gathering my things and leaving the familiar apartment. Why do I have to go through this? It was hard, but there was nothing I could do about it. The betrayal by Michelle, whom I had raised with so much effort, hurt the most. 3 months later, after being driven out of the apartment I shared with Patrick, I had moved back to my parents' home. Then one day, Patrick and Michelle suddenly showed up looking furious. Hey, Samantha, what is this about, this thieving woman? Patrick yelled at me the moment he saw me. I had a hunch about why Patrick was so upset, but I decided to feign ignorance. What do you want? You and I are strangers now, aren't we? It's rude to just show up like this. You stole my money. You are the only one who could have. Where did you put my savings? Patrick ignored what I said and accused me of being a thief, coming here suddenly and calling me a thief. Isn't that rude? The rent and utility bills have stopped being paid, and we've been getting collection notices. I'm asking where you put my money. I'd been paying the rent and utilities for the apartment Patrick had lived in with the money I earned from my work. Patrick had always been reckless with money, spending his salary as soon as he got it. Ideally, he should have lived within his income, but he was spending beyond his means, so his salary was never enough to cover our expenses. I had criticized him for this, but Patrick never really listened to me seriously. He had been involved with Michelle since we were married. He probably never really wanted to listen to what I had to say. Finding it annoying, he had left all the financial management to me, so he had no idea how much savings he had. During the divorce, Patrick, thinking he had enough income, paid me a substantial amount of alimony, but that left him with practically no savings. Despite this, he probably continued his wasteful spending after the divorce. Eventually, his meager savings ran out, and by the time he realized his account balance was zero. What misunderstanding do you have? I can't steal money. The only reason you have no money is simply because you kept spending without checking your balance. That can't be. I'm a company executive. You must have been embezzling my salary. Give me back my money, you thief! Patrick continued to shout, refusing to accept my argument and insisting I had stolen his money. Mom must be jealous of our relationship and stole the money to spite us. Just give it back quietly now while there's still time. Michelle joined in, screaming at me and calling me a thief. Their voices were so loud that the neighbors could hear them. But that was their mistake. Our family has been in this neighborhood for decades, and the neighbors are all close. They are so familiar with each other that they notice any unusual disturbance, and it seems one of the neighbors finally called the police. From a distance, I could hear the sound of a police car siren. What, the police? Why? Startled by the sudden arrival of the police, Patrick finally realized that his actions were inappropriate and began to panic. The police car stopped right in front of the house, and a police officer ran the intercom, presumably to ask about the situation. "It's not what it looks like. I just came to ask where the missing money is. We received a report of threatening loud voices coming from here. You weren't just talking. What you were doing was intimidation. We'll need to hear the details, but not here. We'll talk at the police station." My mother let the police into the house, and Patrick started to make excuses, but the officer insisted on taking him to the police station. Cunningly, Michelle tried to escape alone through a window to the backyard, but was spotted by a police officer and ended up being caught. "I just came to see my mother. Why do I have to be arrested? Mom, help me quickly. I'm your daughter," Michelle screamed at me as she was apprehended. "Is she your daughter?" the police officer asked, clearly puzzled, but I shook my head to deny her words. "No, she's not my daughter. She's my niece, and now she's just a stranger who broke into the house and caused a ruckus. Please take her away." Without any doubt at my words, Michelle's face turned to shock. "Wait, what? Mom? Not your daughter? A niece? What does that mean, Mom?" I had never intended to reveal the truth to Michelle. It was a secret I had hoped to take to the grave, but I could no longer show any restraint towards Michelle, who hurt others with her selfish actions. The truth is, Michelle was not my child, but the child of my biological twin sister, Lauren. Lauren had rebelled against our parents in her student days, running away from home with a man she met in town. After giving birth to a child, Lauren was abandoned by the man and returned home, but our parents refused to take her back, declaring, "You are disowned." Lauren considered placing the child in an orphanage, but I, already married and unable to have children, felt pity for Michelle and decided to adopt her. Michelle and I, being aunt and niece, naturally resemble each other. Against my parents' wishes, I decided to raise Michelle in place of Lauren. "Why did you keep this a secret all this time? Help me, Mom." As Michelle was being pushed into the police car, she continued to scream at me, but I ignored her cries and watched as the two were taken away. After being severely reprimanded by the police for causing a disturbance, they were briefly detained for questioning before finally being released. Michelle was visibly shocked to learn that I was not her real mother. I revealed all the hidden truths to the released Michelle. Her real mother had abandoned her and disappeared. I explained that even I didn't know who her father was. Michelle hung her head in dejection. "Hey, it's not true, right? That I have another mother?" "Yes, it's true. I've always cared for you as if you were my daughter, but maybe I spoiled you too much." Beside Michelle, Patrick also looked down guiltily. The police had pointed out that the disappearance of the savings was not due to my embezzlement, but because he had spent carelessly without checking his balance. "I apologize for everything up to now. So could you lend us even a little money? We were married after all, please. I may not be your daughter, but we are still a blood-related family, right? Is it okay to just let your family suffer?" Despite their previous actions, they started begging for money again, but both my parents and I expelled them from the house. "Never appear before us again. You are nothing to us, not family or anything." Rejected harshly by us, they then tried to borrow money from Patrick's parents and friends. However, Patrick's reputation as a man who had betrayed his wife and had an affair with her daughter spread, and no one was willing to lend them money. Finally realizing they had to live within their means, they began to live in a small apartment. But then, a woman in her 60s, wearing too young makeup and an age-inappropriate miniskirt, suddenly visited Michelle. This woman, who had abandoned Michelle and been out of contact for years, was Lauren, my twin sister. "Michelle, you've grown up to be a fine adult. I'm your mom. I'm in trouble because I have no money. Take care of me." Startled by the sudden appearance of this unknown woman, Michelle and Patrick tried to send Lauren away. "Your real mother is in trouble. You're my daughter. You should help me." But Lauren forcefully entered the apartment. After being disowned by our parents, Lauren never settled into a steady job, instead moving from one worthless man to another, and now she's drowning in debt. She came to the apartment because I and our parents had previously told Lauren where her daughter Michelle was living. Recently desperate for money, Lauren had visited our elderly parents for the first time in decades to ask for money. That's when I suggested, "Why don't you ask your real daughter?" and gave her Michelle and Patrick's apartment address. "What's the deal? You abandoned me and now you show up claiming to be my mother? Get out!" "Huh, I'm not leaving. I'm your real mother, so it's only natural that you should support me, right?" They began yelling and arguing. Despite Michelle's resistance, Lauren forcefully settled into the apartment where Michelle and Patrick were living. Patrick ended up using most of his retirement savings to pay off Lauren's debts, and now he had to support her as well. After retiring, Patrick had to work part-time at construction sites and security companies to make ends meet, pushing his aging body to earn income. Michelle also reluctantly started working at night, but all her earnings were taken by Lauren. The money they earned from their jobs was taken by Lauren. Eventually, tired of his earnings being spent on the constantly fighting mother and daughter, Patrick seems to have disappeared. Michelle, left behind, is forced to live with her mother, Lauren. Michelle will likely continue to be exploited by her mother. While I feel sorry for her, I've come to think that this is perhaps for the best. Meanwhile, I've recently met a man through a hobby who lost his wife several years ago and now lives alone. We haven't decided whether to formalize our relationship, but we enjoy a good relationship, visiting each other's homes and spending time freely. He is an excellent cook and often makes my favorite dish, hamburgers. It's been a long time since I've felt this fulfilled. When I'm with him, time seems to flow gently, and I find myself naturally smiling. Perhaps this simple life is the happiest. As I enjoy these peaceful days, I plan to keep moving forward, one step at a time. Let's conclude the story shortly. Life took an unexpected turn for Michelle. Abandoned once as a baby, she found herself abandoned again by the man she chose over her mother, leaving her to face the consequences of her actions alongside the very mother who had left her years ago. Karma, it seemed, had a way of evening the score. As for me, I found peace and a renewed sense of hope. The betrayal, though painful, ultimately freed me from a loveless marriage and brought a newfound light to my days. The man I met, with his kind heart and delicious hamburgers, reminded me that happiness can be found in the simplest of things, especially after weathering life's storms. It was a testament to the fact that even after hardship, the possibility of new beginnings and genuine connection always remains. After experiencing the full journey of our story, we'd love to hear your thoughts. How did the story resonate with you? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay blessed. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.